But remaining indifferent, realizing that complaining does not help at all. It might help in venting, but it doesn't solve the situation. You can complain in your head. Well, even then, what would that do?
Roll me, Mac.
What would you say are the benefits of indifference? All right, so the benefits of indifference, number one is focus. If you allow yourself and you practice indifference, no matter what distraction you have, it will not shake your focus. And it is not easy by any means. It is not easy to do, but once you learn how to master indifference, it will save your life a lot of suffering in the mind. Of course, everything happens in the mind. You know what I mean? Yeah, you got physical pain and stuff like that, but most of the time we suffer from mental. We suffer from the mind more than anything else. And you know what I mean? They think about when the last time you fought some damn body. So everything else has been like in your mind and how you perceive things to be. But what I found to be beneficial, and I have definitely backslid multiple times with this whole premise, but the beauty is starting all over again and just keeping it going. But the benefits of indifference is maintaining composure, right? And I'm not saying that nothing garners emotion, but a lot of things we give emotion to, we would save ourselves the trouble if we didn't. And I had to learn to practice that shit, you know what I'm saying? Especially trying to hold a frame, if you will, but really just in a lot of situations that you encounter. For instance, when somebody cuts you off in traffic, you can explode, like how I have done in the past, for sure, especially in front of family. There's one time where my mom, my brother, and my daughter, they came to Miami, and somebody cut me off on the turnpike. We were heading south, I think, to Southland Mall, and yeah, the motherfucker cut me off, and I don't know, you can call it ego, trying to show off in front of your family because you're big time in Miami, but trying to almost like chasing down the person that did it to do what? To look at them. You know, we all do that shit. Somebody cut us off. Somebody does something in traffic, driving too damn slow, driving too damn fast, and then we pull up beside them like, oh, like that's justification. Oh, it's a woman driving. oh, it's whatever race driving, or it's a man driving. We come up with something that just kind of, I don't know, lessens the frustration. I know most of us are guilty of that, if not all. But remaining indifferent, minding the fucks you give, minding the fucks you give saves you so much fucking stress in your life. How many things do we focus on that are out of our control? You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I'm guilty of it. And I know when Little Rome is driving, Little Rome likes to control everything that's uncontrollable. Adult Rome focuses on what's in his control. But when our wounded inner child takes the seat, you just go and fight battles from the past, and it serves you no purpose anymore. Honestly, like, to remain calm in chaos, remain indifferent when there is an emotional response expected out of you, and you just remain okay. All right, you move on your logical side versus your emotional side to make the best decision, which is one of the reasons why I love football so much, because it challenges the fuck out of a man's ability to control his emotion. In the game of football, when you're at that line, if you move, let's say you're on the defense and the quarterback yells hut, and that's not the call. The call is on 3. But if you move on that line, your inability to control yourself before that ball moves, you get penalized. And the same thing happens in life, which is why I love this game, because it teaches you how to control yourself. When you lose your shit on the opposing team, sometimes it can result in 5 yards, sometimes it can result in 15 yards, sometimes even getting ejected, as we saw at the beginning of the year with Jalen Carter's spitting in with Dak Prescott. But what I'm saying is the ability to hone in your emotions. So the benefit of indifference is to remain composed, to look like you have it under control, to look like you've been in the end zone before, like you've been in this situation. It calms. What that does is teach others around you to trust you more in decision making as well. That's another benefit of remaining indifferent. You know what I'm saying? Like being the composed leader. And again, it's not easy. It's not easy. But remaining indifferent, realizing that complaining does not help at all. It might help in venting, but it doesn't solve the situation. You can complain in your head. Well, even then, what would that do? It's more like figuring out how do we solve the issue. That's what I find to be like the benefits of being indifferent, is just being able to sit in that moment, sort out the issue as it happens, and then realize what feasible options can we do right now. If you can change things, why worry? If you're not able to change things, why worry? But it's easier said than done, because we're running on old ass programs in our brain that teach us to kind of go in fight or flight. And most of us flee on a lot of shit. Some of us fight, some of us throw tantrums. We throw grown ass tantrums. We don't realize we're acting like the children that we once were. But being able to remain composed, sitting with said situation. All right, this shit is driving me nuts. And it's all right for me to lose my shit on the inside. But it's when I use it externally is when it now can penalize me, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're at the line of scrimmage and you're freaking out on the inside, but you hold firm until the ball is hiked, nothing penalizes you. But if you show it on the outside before that fucking ball hikes, you're fucked. And you fucked your team. And essentially that's what ends up happening when we don't control our emotions. We can hurt our team, our tribe, our family, our work group, friend group, whatever it is. When your inability to control your emotions has cost us a lot. You know what I mean? It costs us a lot in this life. I stand firmly as somebody who is very guilty of doing so. Of a lot of decisions that were made in my life was due to my inability to control my fucking emotions, and not knowing how to process anger, not knowing how to process being pissed off, not knowing how to process having your boundaries, violated, and not knowing how to set said boundaries has put me in situations that I felt closed in. I felt like the walls were closing in. I felt like I was drowning. I didn't use my voice. I did not speak up. I didn't use my presence enough. I stayed and gave people my presence that did not earn said presence, when I could have just walked the fuck away. And understanding how important it is that your presence is. But getting back to remaining indifferent, it just allows you to focus. Choosing to be indifferent on things that we tend to let get to us in the head. For instance, every year, of course, we know the Super Bowl comes on. We're gonna keep it in football, okay? The Super Bowl happens every year. Around that time of year, there are some people that see the Super Bowl, they are looking forward to this big game. Truth be told, it's just a game. That's it. It's just a game. But for some, it is like, if it's their team, especially if it's their team, because they choose to put that energy into it, it's the biggest thing ever to them at that moment. You know what I mean? It's like that those emotions are all channeled in and riding on the fact that your team won this game. Then there's people that don't give a shit about that Super Bowl. But there's so much that goes into it. How much money is put into the Super Bowl? Millions of dollars. And there are people that treat the Super Bowl like another program that's on. They don't put much into it. They remain indifferent to it. You know what I mean? And they're unbothered whatever team wins. And I'm not telling you to not be a part of it, because that's the joy. It's entertainment. You know what I mean? But to not essentially attach yourself to this team that you don't play for. You might reap benefits on a bet, but ultimately we have no attachment to said team. And it's all right to be entertained by something and not be attached to it. If they lose, you're not calling in sick because your team lost. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I've seen that happen. I'm laughing at it because I've seen that happen in my work, in my career. I've seen someone call in sick because their team lost the next day. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is that game in one person's mind is meant to be the biggest thing since sliced bread. And in another person's mind, it's just, okay, cool. Who's it going to affect more if it doesn't go according to their outcome? The person that is highly invested in this particular outcome, or the person that remains indifferent? You know what I mean? I guess that's just something for us all to think about. And like I said, the benefits of indifference is that focus. Being indifferent, practicing amor fati, accepting things as they are, not what you want them to be. What that does is allow you to focus on what is in your control. Now, that's called in Stoicism, and granted, if not every human is going to practice Stoicism. I'm very much aware of that. What I'm saying is that I found something that tend to be very beneficial to me, thus remaining indifferent on a lot of things. And that goes back to the old narrative that he who cares less wins. And being just indifferent, and so that you can focus, maintaining control of your emotions, especially if you're a man, right? The world is not kind to us for not controlling our emotions. I assure you, it is not a good light. It turns your the woman you're seeing into your mother. It makes people walk on eggshells around you and not want to say shit because you're so sensitive to what's being said. There's so much that goes into it when we lose our shit and not knowing how to control those emotions. Now, football, I will go on record in saying that the one who controls their emotions the best in football definitely wins. But when it's relayed in sports, it becomes part of it. It is like the nature of this is the nature of the beast of doing so. I said I'm not gonna penalize somebody for being in that moment. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just part of the game. It feels, like I said, it feels good as long as you don't take it personal. You know what I mean? You can share emotion, your team wins and stuff like that. But if you get to the point where you don't want to put your baby to sleep because your team fucked up that night or something, so anytime it comes a distraction to priorities, then there's issues with obviously showing emotion, but indifference is a superpower, very much so a superpower, when you can be around people and watch and observe people and see how much people are projecting. And when they project, do not take it personal. Do not allow it to get to you. Just see a child throwing a tantrum. Honestly, they're wanting you to be responsible for their happiness, and you're not responsible for their happiness. And I mean anyone. Being a parent to a child is totally different, but you also teach them that no one is responsible for your happiness, of course. But for grown ass people, you know what I'm saying, in relationships, toxicity forms when the relationship is solely about the happiness of this one person. And you know what I mean? I believe that we both are in charge of our own happiness, and we just complement each other's lives together. You know what I'm saying? That's my mentality on it. But when you focus solely on, I gotta make this person happy or they're gonna leave me type shit, it becomes toxic. Because you're just as human as they are. You're just as valuable as they are, just as valued as they are. But how many of us have allowed ourselves to be in a situation where we got with this person and we felt like we just had to make them, we had to make them feel like the greatest person in the world? And I mean, guilty on both sides. I've definitely done it myself, and I've had it done to me. So, but to practice that indifference, that superpower, knowing that I'm not in charge of making you happy. You know what I'm saying? Like I can complement your life. I can become what is attractive to you, but I'm not responsible for your happiness. And I think that's a joy. That's a joy to have when you can carry yourself in that manner and not have to worry about being responsible for the other person's happiness, and you just complement a person's life. And you are enough. That you don't require external validation like that. You know what I'm saying? And practicing indifference, I believe, aids in recognizing that for oneself. So, the benefits of indifference: focus. Indifference is a superpower. How do you as a man feel about receiving gifts for Christmas? Well, I'm gonna be honest, because I tend to buy myself whatever the fuck I want when I want as an adult. Like, it's different now, I think, because the mindset back as a kid, it was like the only way you got gifts was through your parents, family members, what have you. So you had that anticipation, and it might have even been better for your mind. Looking back at it, as far as for the season itself and Christmas and like receiving a gift. But for me, receiving a gift, I'm grateful for whatever's given, especially if I recognize how much thought was put into it, how much a person like actually listens while we're conversing, listen while we're in communication and conversation, and then they bring a gift that definitely says you. versus getting a gift that they wanted for you, thinking about themselves. And I've had that, I had that a lot actually growing up. And then when they're upset because you don't utilize said gift, I was like, well, did you buy that for me or did you buy that for you? Did you have that, you buy that gift with you in mind, or did you have that gift with me in mind? And I like to, especially for me, Christmas time is definitely about my soul and my ego at the same time because I love being able to bless others that I value with something that says them, based on the conversations that we've had, things that they've shared with me, learning how to love said people in your life and being able to give them something that they could actually use. Like it's not even really about the money shit for it or how expensive the gift is, but like literally knowing this person's personality. This is something that I believe they could use. And I, like I said, that joy of seeing that's where the ego comes in. I could easily say, oh, I'm not doing it for myself. Partially, partially. You can be honest about it, man, but not in a malicious way, but more like, oh, these are the people that I love. Here's something that they could be of use to. But as far as for me with gifts and receiving gifts, I don't, if I get them, great. If not, I'm past that stage now. Like I've accepted that much that I'm grateful for whatever I get. I just don't have any expectations for gifts from anybody anymore, even my parents. You know what I mean? Like, what if they were to give me something, great. If it's one thing, great. If it's 100, you know what I'm saying? I'm grateful for it. My kid, if she gets me something, great. I'm gonna cherish that thing because it's coming from her, regardless of what it is. You know what I mean? Now that I'm biased on. Like, my daughter can get me a fucking pencil from Dollar Tree and I will cherish that thing, you know what I mean? Because it came from my baby. But, in a sense, and even since like anything I get from anyone else, I don't have any expectations on you for said thing. It's just, for me, it's just being in the moment, like being able to share that moment. To me, Christmas is about being with those that you love, those that you value. Yeah, you can share gifts, because it's just part of the event. Of course, the pagan holiday, naturally. But to give a gift and it means something, to show a person how much you value them, and then again, the egoic response of seeing how, their response to said gift, knowing that you put this interest into it. But still, of course, giving unconditionally. I think that's really what, I believe that really changed things for me when I learned to give unconditionally. And for me, it's like being able to give this time of the year, being able to give to others without expecting anything in return. It teaches you how to be for the rest of the year. And like I said, I pride myself on that. I really do. I pride myself on the fact of being able to give to others, whether that be the homeless, whether that be people at work, and you know what I'm saying, the time of the year, it's something they might dig on. Of course, doing like the white elephant stuff at the job or Secret Santa. Being able to do that and not expecting shit in return, it's like whatever you get is great. And some people come up with some dope ideas, you know what I'm saying? But I just, because I buy whatever I want, like that whole thing of basing my happiness on whatever somebody gives me, I don't have that. You know what I'm saying? And like that, for me, it's just being able to give and share the moment and be in that moment with those people for that. You know what I'm saying? Like gifts, that's materialistic. And there's, like I said, there's thought behind said gifts sometimes, and that's well appreciated, right? But in actuality, to me, just gifts are they're materialistic. Really, it's just like I said, the thought behind it. That's why I think it's so dope about anytime there's gift giving, whether that be birthdays, Christmas, Father's Day, Mother's Day. The thought behind said gift recognizing how much you know, how much you try to get to know a person, and being able to put forth said effort to get them something that they could actually utilize, not something that you just wanted to give for the sake of giving and your, like, for your own egoic reasons, but like really being able to put that effort and interest, the love behind it. And you can just tell that, man, like behind a lot of people and how they give gifts, man. And it's super dope to see that, to see a person's heart come out. They're, how they show love and do it unconditional, being able to give gifts, without expecting something in return, man. And you can feel that energy from people. And then there's people that, well, I got you something, you got to get me something type thing. And, it just comes, now it becomes we're parenting this person's inner child type thing. And you can feel that sometimes. I know y'all seen that at some family functions or friend functions, whatever it is, or being over, your friend's house and seeing them and their spouse kind of get into it because this gift wasn't big enough or what have you. But to me, I think that's where we can allow it as people. We as humans can allow the materialistic side to get into the way of just honestly just being with those that you value, because you don't know how many Christmases you have left with those that you value. And that's something to think about. And life will certainly teach you how much material things are not, versus that of a person that you wish was still here. And, we all have that. We still like our things, don't get me wrong. We still like our things and stuff, but it's nothing compared to that of the love of being with those that you value, that you can, touch, feel, be close to, for some of us be intimate, but receiving gifts, I'm just grateful. I like to live in a abundance, and I live in a multitude of abundance and just gratitude as well for whatever is given to me. No expectations, no entitlement, no ego. Well, a little bit, like I said, the ego of giving, but not so much the ego of receiving for me. But as a man, I don't really, it's not a big thing for me, receiving gifts. I'm grateful when it does happen, but for me, this time of the year, it's all about the ability to give. To me, Christmas is a time. It's a time of giving. As cliche as that sound, I look at, okay, I buy myself whatever I want throughout the year. This is the time where people come together and we can exchange gifts for somebody that that you value and something that they can use. So how do I feel as a man, receiving gifts? I'm grateful to receive gifts, but I'm even more grateful for the fact that I get to give them away. All right, so a podcast that I'd love to be a guest on, I would say Brilliant Idiots. Number one would definitely be the podcast that I would choose to be on, because of they talk about serious shit, things that's going on within our society and the world and all that, but they also obviously make it funny. Sometimes it can be a bit crude and graphic, but nevertheless it's to me it's funny. I find it entertaining, and so to be up there with the likes of Charlemagne, Alex, Andrew Schultz, and Taylor, they call her Taylor Gang and stuff like that, because she's the one that kind of the different segments that they do, and she's also like a producer on the show and all that stuff too. But I would also love to be a guest on the On Purpose podcast with Jay Shetty, just to get up there and talk mental health, and just kind of pick his brain on a lot of stuff, obviously, because he tends to ask questions to the guests that are on there. But I would love to kind of pick his brain while being up there, so to kind of help further in healing, you know what I mean, for oneself. But yeah, it's a toss between those two. a Brilliant Idiots podcast, and On Purpose with Jay Shetty. Made Christmas feel like Christmas to you growing up? The soundtrack. Yeah, the soundtrack for sure. The soundtrack, and not just the music, because of course Temptations' Christmas was played. That is the very first song. Give Love on Christmas Day is the very first song that is played in our family, immediate family, when it's come time for like gift giving and shit like that. And so that's, that becomes like the soundtrack. But the TV shows, the movies that constantly get played in my family, my mother was very big on National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. So a lot of lines said throughout the year, especially during December, you know what I mean? And Bethany, you know what I'm saying? And Bethany's lines, her singing the Pledge of Allegiance when it's time to say grace. Like, there's a feeling of it when I would say the times when we were all together frequently, as you get older, people go their separate ways and stuff like that. But growing up, Christmas was obviously the decorations. There used to be this jingle that my mom used to have on the tree, and you would hear it all the time. You could be up in your room playing video games, you can hear that fucking jingle downstairs. And then always getting that big ass tin of like popcorn with the caramel, the butter, cheese, the cheddar popcorn type thing. You can get them at Walmart. $5.47. I think I saw it the other day. $5.47. I didn't do the 7, but you get it. $5.47. That was, it makes me feel. I definitely feel like that Christmas feel. Christmas is like bugging your mom for what's inside that Sears catalog, what's inside that JCPenney's catalog, what's inside that Toys R Us brochure. Because again, video game head, I didn't give a fuck about toys that much, but I wanted to get this. Can I get Jet Moto? Can I get Crash Bandicoot? Can we get Street Fighter 2 Turbo? Can we get Madden 95, Live 96? Like, these were the things that, the anticipation of it, you know what I'm saying? The anticipation of getting these gifts, and you get caught up in it as you get older. You get caught up in the allure of just receiving gifts, like it's about you. But like I said in the previous topic, being able to give said gifts, it's even, to me, that's even, it's an even better deal for me these days. But growing up, going to my grandma's house. Sometimes we would have Christmas at my grandma's house, and so I got to be around, like my cousins, and when we get together, it turns Mario Party all fucking night. We'll play 64 literally all night. It will start at 6, and we don't go to sleep until 3, 4 in the morning. Just Nintendo 64. That's just all we did. And sharpening your skills, trying to become the best at whatever game, whether that be GoldenEye, WrestleMania 2000, Revenge, No Mercy, or any other game that we have for like Nintendo 64. And it's great when you've got like a lot of people to do so. Gaming one player stuff is cool, but it's nothing like that of, having your competition in your family the way that we did. And just walking the malls, being able to walk the malls, of course, seeing like the Santa Clauses around, people standing in line, for their kids can take pictures with Santa Claus. The decorations inside the mall, the music being played inside Walmart. Walmart go from playing Thriller on Halloween to November 1st. It's got Mariah Carey's song, All I Want for Christmas Is You. In a matter of 12 hours, there's a difference. We went from being all dark and shit with Halloween till November 1st, it's Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas Is You. And So like the sound, again, the soundtrack, it just, it felt like Christmas. Like I said, the TV shows, the shows that we watched, that had Christmas episodes for us growing up, seeing Martin and like when the midgets were on there, like dancing and shit, and Brother Claus came in and tried to hold up the fucking the studio while they were doing the Christmas special. Like, these are moments that you had to be there to experience this shit, as well as of course the candy stuff. Same fucking candy they sell for Halloween. They got one section where the Halloween candy is half off, and it's literally the same candy dressed up in Christmas shit over here for full price. Can't make this shit up. But this is what goes down. And but you just feel like Christmas, like being able to again, just think about the clothes that you were gonna get. Like when you're in, I'll say about elementary school, it was video games. By the time, as you get older, middle school, high school, you're trying to be the flyest or whatever going to school. So it comes into white DCs, black DCs. This is what we call them back home in Virginia. But of course, to everybody else, Air Force Ones. And, you wanted a pair of butter Tims. You wanted a pair of black Tims. You wanted a bubble coat of some sort. I had a first down jacket. And, but it was all a part of the moment. I remember one year we all got Air Maxes. We got Air Maxes in the friend group. We all got the same shoe, in a sense. And that was one of the few times where I did do that, because I wasn't always privy with that luxury to get the shoe that everybody had in school. But for that year, I had those Air Maxes, and Woody had those Air Maxes. God rest his soul. Mac, and then I think there was somebody else in our friend group that had the same Air Maxes, but it was that feeling. At those times, it was fitting in. So those moments of trying to fit in, having whatever was trending, and seeing, your parents, if they could, come through on that for you. And I say my parents did a damn good job when it came to that Christmas shit. And the things that we wanted within reason, like I'm not buying no $150, $200 shoes for no child, especially when I know that he likes to play outside and play basketball and fuck them up. So I can understand that. But like being in those moments, singing Christmas songs with my brother, being in the car, my mother playing the same damn Christmas albums, Patti LaBelle's Christmas, Kirk Franklin's Christmas, The Preacher's Wife soundtrack, Luther Vandross's Christmas album, and the Temptations Christmas album, and there's this Motown Christmas album with the Boys. Christmas Cheer is the name of the record. But that to me is what felt like Christmas to me. And the time goes by very fast. Before you know it, you're older. And now it's your turn to put on Christmas for your kids and godkids and, younger cousins and things like that. And that becomes, now you're creating their experience for them. And, it's a cycle. And I'm very grateful, man. Like there was one time I think my mom and my brother, or maybe it was my mom and my daughter, and they made like gingerbread house and shit. But those moments of like having, like I said, the Christmas cookies, the Christmas, like Pillsbury shit. You used to have the roll before they had the preset ones for us lazy people. But the roll where you had to cut them out and put them in the oven and stuff like that. Not making them from scratch. Nope, I wasn't making them from scratch. But those moments, being there with your family, that's at the time of the year and all that stuff, it means something. That meant something. But we grow and we move in different directions, and sometimes you can forget that feeling. But thank God for pictures and videos to be able to restore that feeling alone. You might not be able to go back to it, but to remember what that felt like in those moments for Christmas. And Christmas is definitely my favorite time of the year. I won't necessarily say holiday, but definitely favorite time of the year, for the simple fact that even if it's fake, people are showing kindness and love and care to others. Now, it also brings out a very much a state of depression and a lot of people, and that's room for them to be loved. And that's the dope. If you have an effective mindset around those people, you can influence them and change their view on having depression about whatever it is that they're battling, or really just sit there with them. Not necessarily having to change shit, but just sit there with them and let them know that they're not alone. Sometimes that's enough, man. Sometimes that's enough. And but yeah, it's my favorite time of the year, and I'm just grateful for whatever moments happen during Christmas seasons. There's been some times where I've been entitled and had expectations, and I made Christmas worse for myself than what it could have been because people didn't live up to my expectations. They were being themselves, and I had an idea of them, and that's for me to deal with, not for them. But you learn, you live and learn. So, with all that being said, we've reached the end of this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed sharing random ass thoughts off my brain about particular questions that have been used on this. But this is Romy Mac. I would be very grateful for you guys to hit like, subscribe, comment if need be. You know what I'm saying? Share on your walls, share on your social media shit for the show, just to help out the algorithm and bring people in, and hopefully we all heal together. But like I said, I'm Romy Mac, and I'm out. Good night, kids. Why do you love comedy? All right, so comedy is a lifesaver, number one. I dare you to remain depressed, sad, stressed after watching something that is funny. The body just knows what to do. It's a feel-good chemical. I'm sure there's a technical term. I don't know it right now. My brain fog. But there's a technical term for the feeling you get after watching something funny. I spent a great deal of my life watching nothing but comedy, trying to be a comedian, comedy writer, whatever it was. I just loved the reaction that it gave other comedians, when they would say something funny. So I was trying to people please. That was my version of people pleasing. But nevertheless, I grew a love for comedy and various forms of comedy, and seeing the difference. Again, jokes that are said in front of a black audience may not hit the same way the jokes hit in front of a white audience, or jokes said in front of men not hitting the same way for jokes set in front of only geared towards women, or geared towards parents, geared toward, what I'm saying? There's a various degree of comedy that can go around, and the thing is, there's comedy for everybody, and being able to laugh with all the things that we do. Some of us tend to take ourselves very seriously, and I will be the first to say that I've certainly taken myself very seriously in many ways. But to be able to laugh at yourself, to be able to laugh at one's ego, and of taking yourself too seriously, it pans out. The comedy essentially saved my life. I didn't realize I was going through anything traumatic. I didn't realize that until I was much older, because I was making jokes in school with my friends, me, T-Dot, the entire crew, our entire crew. Our bus was comedy at its best. I can tell you that right now, from middle school till we started driving in high school. Whenever we rode the bus, you had a show coming. Let me tell you, there's nothing more grand than to be able to have the ability to make jokes with those that you grew up with, and also in classrooms. There are some classes that just stand out to me, as far as for comedy. Mrs. Phelps' 7th grade class. We had a fucking ball in that class. For everybody that was at Yates who remembers the joys that we had, the comedy that would go down in that class is you're not able to repeat. You're not able to create that again. That was once in a lifetime moment. Miss Smithers' 10th grade class. Fifth. I think we were 5th block. Sixth block. We were her sixth block or whatever, or fourth, whatever the fuck it was. I think we were sixth. Yeah, we were a sixth block class. Yeah, Miss Smithers, sixth block, 10th grade class. I'm talking about some of the funniest shit you have ever heard uttered out of little children's mouths. And again, we were all suffering in our own ways, but some of us realized it, and some of us didn't realize that. But because of comedy saved us. Comedy allowed us to embrace our imperfections, our insecurities. We were able to laugh at the fact that we didn't always have we wore tight pants, and now men wear tight pants. Ain't that a bitch? You used to get joked on, get cooked on your clothes for wearing fucking tight ass jeans, and now that's the style with some men. Having like you have a fucked up ass haircut, and you got to go to school either with a bald head or with that fucked up ass haircut, your hairline all jacked up. It didn't feel good in the moment, but we were laughing. We're laughing. You know what I'm saying? It was comedy, and we were able to embrace each other's, like I said, embrace each other's insecurities. And everybody got hit at one point in time. Some more than others, but you definitely got hit. You were a target. You were definitely a target for comedy of some sort. But comedy, man, I mean, let's talk about like from a professional level. I mean, the likes of a George Carlin, a Dick Gregory, a Richard Pryor, a Eddie Murphy, Red Fox, the Dale Givens, Cheryl Underwood, a lot of the, like I said, the Def Comedy Jam folks, the Bill Bellamy, Tracy Morgan, Steve Harvey, D.L. Hewley, Chris Rock, Chris Tucker. The list goes on. Cat Williams, Kevin Hart, and Kevin wasn't. I mean, we're all the same age, so I couldn't say Kevin Hart. But comedy, what I mean is, this comedy itself made you feel good. Like even if you was in a poor mood, you know what I'm saying, it made you feel good. And comedy taught you to laugh at your insecurities. It taught you to laugh at the shit that wasn't perfect, your imperfect life. It taught you to laugh at those things. It taught you to laugh at how your parents used to dress you when you were little and you had no control over that shit. Those can become a bit inside a comedy, a comedy routine. Or how you staying over your grandma's house, the things that you saw over your grandma's house, when there used to be plastic on the couches, when having Flintstone furniture, as my mom used to call that shit, the different things, the imperfections, the shortcomings of life. We're able to embrace that shit and love it unconditionally because we went through it. It was part of our story. I'm sure everyone has something where they didn't always have it. And you're able to laugh at that because it was our time. Regardless of what it was our time. And it happened in our childhood. Those things, like remembering falling asleep on the phone with a girl in middle school, and then her mom getting on the phone, or your mom getting on the phone, yelling at y'all to get your asses off the phone and go off my damn phone and go to sleep. I can't tell you how many times I fell asleep on the phone with a girl in high school. And and I'll never forget waking up and I can hear the motherfucker snoring in my ear. But that's what we did. You know what I'm saying? It was like we wanted to, we were in that moment, and we're able to look back at that moment and just laugh because we did that. And it's relatable. But I just love comedy. Comedy saved my life. Still saves my life a lot of times. When I'm down, man, for sure. Like, I thank God for Godfrey and his Trump impressions. I thank God for Martin creating the Martin Show. I really thank God for In Living Color, Def Comedy Jam, Mad TV, just random clips, just of comedy. The Wayans family, like there's comedy in everything, and it's comedy for everyone. And you don't have to necessarily find, if somebody presents you with some comedy that they like, you don't necessarily have to laugh at it. It doesn't mean anything because you don't laugh at it. It's just comedy doesn't relate to you. But to see someone care about you so much that they want to share their comedy with you is the joy in it for me. You know what I mean? But I love comedy because it saved my life and it saved other people's lives and it gave other people's opportunities. So, yeah, that's really it. That's why I love comedy.